Good morning. I'd like to thank the organizers of this symposium for inviting me, and especially to Dr. Arai, who's been a very generous host. You've heard three very excellent presentations on using technology to study animals, marine animals at sea. Mine will follow on that basic theme. As has been pointed out, the challenge of studying marine life is that when an animal submerges, it's very difficult to observe them. And that's because the maximum depth of light penetration in the ocean is about 1,300 meters, but the average depth of the ocean is about 3,730 meters, with a maximum depth of about 11,000. So most of the ocean is a very dark place. In addition, water absorbs light rapidly, so the attenuation of light is 333 times greater than in water than it is in air, and this also greatly limits the ability to observe or use conventional video techniques to study wildlife. So most of the ocean, as it turns out, is a very dark and very logistically difficult environment in which to observe and study marine organisms. This is in contrast to terrestrial animals, where we can actually observe their behavior using conventional methods. But with marine life, our understanding, especially of the marine vertebrates, has been greatly limited by the difficulty or even the complete inability to observe them once they submerge. There are some other technologies, a number of them right here, developed in Japan, using other kinds of systems such as towed cameras, remotely operated vehicles, autonomous operated vehicles, manned submersibles, and divers using open circuit scuba, and even some very sophisticated atmospheric diving systems. The problem with these technologies is that they generally provide only a very fleeting glimpse of highly mobile species at depth. Now, there is a different approach, which has already been mentioned today, and that is to attach a video camera or a still camera to the diving animal in order to observe different behaviors, such as predator-prey interactions. So here we have a video camera mounted on a seal, and we have two images taken from the video showing a prey capture event at depth. This would be impossible to see ordinarily because it's occurring at a depth of about 300 meters. If we simultaneously record data that allows us to calculate the three-dimensional dive path, as well as swim performance data such as speed and stroke frequency, and other environmental variables, then we start to develop a very powerful technique for understanding animal behavior at depth. So here's a three-dimensional dive path for a Weddell seal, and based on the video record, each one of these little dark points is a known prey capture event. It would be very difficult to get this data in any other way. Just a little bit of history on these systems. I began working on them in 1986 when the technology was relatively primitive. We were thrilled to have this, what was then a very small Sony camcorder, which we put into a plastic housing and mounted on a northern elephant seal and later a Weddell seal. It had no sensors and could only record for an hour, but these early attempts began to reveal to us the potential of this particular approach. In the early 1990s, we embarked upon developing our first system. You'll notice that the technology is still large, and so we had to work with large animals, such as this female northern elephant seal. But this particular instrument had a CCD camera with near-infrared LEDs for illumination, and these sensors for pressure, swim speed, compass bearing, a hydrophone, even a GPS. This may have been one of the first deployments of a GPS system on a marine mammal. And by pointing the camera backwards, we were able to look at stroke frequency. And what it revealed to us was that these animals could use very energy-efficient modes of locomotion, taking advantage of negative buoyancy below a certain depth. And this opened up a whole new understanding and set of hypotheses on how these animals were able to stay submerged for such an extended period. It wasn't long after that we were approached by the U.S. Navy, who were interested in our system, and we worked with them for a couple of years putting our instruments in a different configuration on ocean-trained bottlenose dolphins. These dolphins would go out to sea following a boat, and then they would dive to 100 meters to a target, and we got some useful swimming performance data out of it. For a while, the Navy was interested in the possibility of using this system for underwater mine detection, and we worked with them for a bit, but the Navy program went in a different direction, and so we stopped working with the Navy in 1996. However, while we were doing that, we were developing yet our third generation of instrument, again quite large. It was rated to a depth of 100 meters, had a black and white camera with near-infrared light source. It still used tape, videotape, high 8, but we could get 6 hours of recording out of these long play tapes. And it had a microprocessor so that the video recording could be turned on and off based on depth or time, and then used some fairly large batteries. This problem of batteries is going to be a reoccurring theme. We'll see that the technology has become increasingly smaller, both the video cameras and the microprocessors, but unfortunately battery technology has not advanced as quickly, and it has a very large impact on the size of these instruments. So here's the package from 1997 to 2002. We deployed it on Weddell seals in the Antarctic. This definitely looks like a robotic seal because the instruments are so large, but it worked very well. So here's the main unit with the recording package, the camera mounted on the head, even a gimbaled compass for giving us bearing, and a 2-axis accelerometer for monitoring stroking. A cumbersome package, but it gave us some very excellent data on the hunting behavior and foraging strategies of these seals diving beneath the ice. And we'll come back to this species in just in a little bit. In the early part of 2000, we began our most ambitious development of an instrument package, and this one took us almost 4 years to design and build. It was 50% smaller than the one you just saw, and had the capability of recording up to 80 hours of video. The big advance here is that we were able to get away from recording on tape, and we're able to use microprocessors that would do on-the-fly MPEG compression and store to flash memory. And that was a big advance in terms of reducing the overall size of the package. In addition, we had some new sensors that we were using, 3-axis accelerometer magnetometer, which gave us body orientation and bearing instead of using a compass, and a whole array of environmental sensors, temperature, dissolved oxygen, light, conductivity, which gives us salinity, and then also a hydrophone. Here's the camera that is connected by a cable to the main recording unit, and this is a GPS antenna mounted in back of the camera. So here is the system tested on a South Georgia fur seal, a male. You can see the camera is much smaller than in previous generations, and we'll see if we can do a little. So this is looking over the tip of the animal's nose, and this animal is going to come up and is eating krill in a fairly loose school, not as dense as the school we saw for the penguins, but the seals coming up, rising up through and capturing individual krill. We then proceeded to try this system on female stellar sea lions in the Kuril Islands, And these animals don't feed on krill. They feed on a fish which in English is called the Atka mackerel. These are fairly high-speed swimming seals. So we'll go on this little bit of a ride with this animal as it hunts for Atka mackerel on the ocean floor. The depth in this video is only about 30 meters, and the water is fairly clear, so there's plenty of normal illumination coming down from the surface to allow the video recording without artificial light. You'll notice that the seals do not have any kind of, sea lions don't have any kind of vocalization while they're foraging. That was an Atka mackerel that he just captured. And another. These fish are small enough that the seal can consume them underwater without having to go to the surface. We then mounted this system a little bit differently onto a flotation system of non-compressible foam and used a tethering system to attach it to a whale shark off of northwestern Australia. This video, which was taken by the BBC, just illustrates the attachment system. There's a barb placed under the skin, and then there's a 1 meter tether that is attached to the instrument. There's a dissolvable magnesium link in the tether, and it's designed so that it dissolves in about 18 hours. It releases the instrument, which then floats to the surface, and there's a satellite and a radio transmitter on the flotation system that allows us to relocate the animal. These divers are attempting to measure the length of this animal. You'll note this school of small fishes which travel with the whale shark. Remember those fishes. We're going to see what happens to them sometimes when another predator moves in. The whale shark in some regards is like a large moving reef with a number of species that travel with it. Okay, now we'll look at the view from the camera. And again, pay attention to this large school of small fish. You'll see that we can get the stroke frequency from this animal just by the head movement. Now, these are some jacks that are moving in. Notice the ones out here in the distance as they start to circle around this school of small fish in front of the whale shark. There's quite a feeding frenzy. So there may be 30 of those small fish left, and the jacks are not satisfied. They come back for another attempt. The goals of this particular research is to better understand actually the feeding behavior of whale sharks, but of course in the process of getting that kind of information, we get to see some other types of animal behavior, such as these jacks. Most recently, we've been deploying this new generation of instruments on our old friend, again, the Weddell seal, but this time we were interested in a winter study. So we've been going down to McMurdo Sound again, but in the late winter, in order to understand how low ambient light levels might affect the hunting behavior of an animal which we believe has a very low light sensitive vision. These are some clips that I put together. This is not a continuous series, but a series of sequences that I put together just to make it a little easier to see. And I've also done a stop action so you can see the species of fish that the seal is hunting. These are, this species of sub-ice fish is called the bald rockfish. This is the under-ice surface during the late winter. You can see it's quite dark. So, of course, the big advantage of having video records like this is that not only can you observe the behavior of the animal, but you can actually confirm prey capture events. And that gives you the ability to start to understand energy intake by the animal. That was sub-ice foraging. This are some sequences of the animal hunting on the ocean floor. It's a very rich sponge community, and among the invertebrates, there are a number of fish that the animal is detecting and capturing. Okay, so those are the video recorded prey capture. Now, what the three-dimensional dive path is giving us the ability to do is go beyond simply describing ascent, descent, horizontal swimming, but to put together a real behavioral analysis where we can start to divide the dive record up into real behavioral states, such as searching, pursuit, attacking, prey handling, and other states, which in this case are not foraging, pre- and post-foraging. So here we have a meandering descent where the animal is searching. At this point, we think that the animal has detected a school of fish, starts stroking more rapidly, accelerates, and attacks from below. And each of these black dots is a prey capture event. At this point, we think the animal loses visual sight of the school, redescends, and picks it up again by backlighting the school using silhouetting. and then again reascends and has multiple prey capture events, eventually runs out of oxygen and returns to the surface. So this is a significant step forward in being able to analyze underwater behavior. Now, on top of that, you can add environmental variables recorded by the instruments, such as the ambient sound, ambient light level, ambient temperature, salinity, and dissolved oxygen. And this allows us to analyze animal behavior and performance in a data-rich virtual environment in order to assess habitat preference. And then on top of that, we can start to delve into other interesting questions, such as the concept of the Umwelt, or the self-world of animals. And this Umwelt is basically the unique perceptual and effector world of each animal. And it includes how animals sense and perceive their environment, both physically and socially, and then how they act upon it. This is the next generation of instrument that is currently in development and will be finished next summer. It's as small as the current camera only that we're using. The main backpack will disappear. You can see it's 5 centimeters by about 9 centimeters. All of the same sensors, but will be a resin potted instrument, a lot smaller. We hope to be able to use these on animals as small as 15 kilograms, and it can be configured here for pinnipeds or in a different shape for cetaceans and whale sharks. If we look at a little bit of a timeline on the capability of these instruments, such as digital information processing, storage, the number of sensors, as a function of size, you can see in 1986 we didn't have much capability and it was large. By 94, we had a lot of additional capability, but it was still quite large, and that continued until about 1997. There were some big breakthroughs in technology which allowed us then to start reducing the size of the instrument. MPEG compression, digital flash memory, no more tape recording, that was big. And then continued miniaturization of flash memory and ultra-low components, powered components. And now, in just the last few months, we're now seeing ultra-small CMOS cameras, which we're beginning to play with, and we hope we'll be able to make video systems that can be used on animals as small as 1 kilogram. So you can see the trend is very positive towards increased capability and size reduction. Right now, the biggest challenge for further miniaturization is not the electronic components, but it's the batteries. We have to get balancing power consumption and battery size is basically limiting how small we can make these instruments at the moment. So as these instruments get smaller, we'll be able to use them increasingly on a whole variety of animals that are very challenging to study. One of the future challenges is that as animal-borne technology becomes smaller and more data-rich, we face the challenge of storing, classifying, analyzing, integrating, and disseminating the data, and that we will need new methods of analysis which will allow us to handle large volumes of information, creating data-rich virtual worlds in which to view and integrate video and data will require advanced computing capability. I'd now like to show a video of Weddell seal, our research on Weddell seals, and you'll get a better idea of some of the ways that we've been using these instruments.
The coldest, driest, and windiest place on Earth, at the bottom of the world, Antarctica. Where humans can only live and work with enormous effort and technical support, one mammal, and only one, the Weddell seal, calls the fast ice its permanent home. To study an animal in such extreme conditions requires serious preparation. Today, we have the means to build camps and construct equipment that can withstand the untamed forces we will encounter. But how can the seals live here? And how can we experience their world the way they do? Now, we must enter the animal's self-world, its Umwelt. Hold your breath. It's going to be a cold but exciting journey. For a Weddell seal, food, water, and sex come from the sea. But the seal is a marine mammal, and so it must breathe air. To survive and reproduce, the animal must have constant access to water and air. That access is provided by a hole in the ice. In essence, it's the portal to their very existence. When storms sweep through the endless icescape and air temperatures drop to levels that can freeze skin in seconds, the sea provides sanctuary. To prevent frostbite, seals enter the water and can remain there for weeks. Although humans would lose heat and die in minutes, the seal's thick layer of blubber enables it to maintain its body temperature at 37 degrees centigrade. For us, ice holes are our key to their world too. Above the water, they rarely move more than 10 meters away from an opening. Here we can find them resting, and it's here that we can outfit them with the latest technology, with electronic eyes to record their behavior and data to determine their underwater travels. These recordings will allow us to learn about their lives from their perspective, to discover a world completely alien to us. Weddell seals are large animals. They're 2 to 3 meters long, weighing about 500 kilograms. Without land predators, they have no innate fear of humans and are generally docile. Only mild-tempered, non-pregnant females were selected for the camera study. It takes a team of 4 to 6 experienced scientists to capture such a large animal. 2 people place a bag over the seal's head to calm it and protect its eyes. Then the seal is loaded into a closed sled and towed to the research camp. Back at camp, the mildly sedated animal is weighed, measured, and examined. Then begins the process of attaching video and data recorders, as well as satellite and radio transmitters. This will take about 6 hours. First, the fur is cleaned and dried. Then the footprints of the main recording units are outlined. The instruments are attached to thin sheets of neoprene rubber that are glued to the fur with contact cement. 3 coats are required on both the fur and neoprene rubber pads before they are finally mounted on the animal. In a few days, the instruments will be relocated and recovered. When the seal molts, the contact cement will fall off with the old fur. Once all equipment is set, the seal is given time to recover. When it's fully alert, it glides back to freedom. Now, for the first time, we can follow a seal and attempt to understand how it meets its motivational needs of exploration, hunger, and reproduction. How do they explore, forage, and interact? Antarctica is one of the most dynamic environments on Earth, with constantly changing currents, winds, and temperatures. A hole in the ice can be found in one spot one day, and hours, even minutes later, it may have closed again. If the ice is thin, Weddell seals can strike with their heads to open it up. If the ice is too thick, the seal can use its teeth. However, this heavy use of canines can reduce its life expectancy. The less costly solution for the seal is to take advantage of its magnificent sensory systems to find existing holes. Vision plays a key role in locating holes. In the austral summer, finding a hole can be relatively easy. Sunlight streaming through a crack can signal its position. Other guiding landmarks include large rocks, grounded icebergs, islands, and stable bottom topography. But they're not foolproof. Icebergs melt and move. Plankton blooms reduce underwater visibility. Cloud or snow cover cuts ambient light. And in winter, darkness can eliminate all visual cues. So how can seals sense their surroundings if they can't see? Auditory cues may provide an answer. Seals surrounding a hole often vocalize, and their calls may be heard 1 or 2 kilometers away. Movement of ice also creates sound, which could indicate an island is nearby or a crack opening. With their vibrissae, they can detect movement in the water. Water movement and change in currents might also point to the location of a gap. When sensory systems like vision, hearing, and touch prove less effective, the animal can rely on the physical features of its environment to increase its chances of finding a breathing hole. Ice holes are more likely to occur around islands and along the continent's shore. Here, daily tides create cracks. Together, the patterns of wind, tide, and currents create relatively consistent locations for holes. Through exploratory dives, the seal may develop a cognitive map of its home. To use this map, the seal must be able to navigate. It must know where it is in relation to where it wants to go. But there is more. The seal will have to account for currents that could alter its course, and it must know obstacles that could prevent a direct course to its goal. Exploring allows the seal to continuously update its map and keep track of holes. As vital as breathing is, the animal can't live from air alone. It must eat. In our study, the small Antarctic silverfish is the Weddell seal's main diet. This energy-rich fish typically occurs in schools at depths of 180 to 500 meters. Because the schools are constantly moving, how do the seals locate them? Three-dimensional dive analysis and video-recorded prey capture provide some answers. A typical foraging dive begins with an initial descent out of the ice hole. Then it becomes a meandering descent with the seal swinging widely in its dive path. The seal is gliding down because it's negatively buoyant. It sinks. This reduces self-generated noise that could warn its prey. Meandering descent appears to be a search strategy for silverfish. At some point, the seal changes direction, accelerates, and ascends. We think this indicates the seal has detected a school of fish, though it's not clear how. The seal may use vision to silhouette the fish against the sea ice. but it might also detect them by sensing movement in the water. Since hydrodynamic trails may persist for as long as 5 minutes, seals could use this cue for prey detection. The seal eats about 16 fish on an average foraging dive and covers a distance of 1.5 kilometers in 15 minutes without a single breath. Toward the end of 12 minutes, the seal stops hunting and returns directly to the surface. Here it spends about 3 minutes recharging its blood and muscles with oxygen before it's ready for the next dive. We've observed as many as 25 foraging dives a day. The silhouette and pressure wave technique might work when foraging in open water, but how does a seal find food on the bottom? Sweeping with its vibrissae, it detects prey by touch. A special catch for a Weddell seal is Antarctic cod, which can grow to 2 meters. These large fish are too big for the seal to swallow, so it returns to the surface to kill and eat it. The social life of Weddell seals revolves around their breathing holes. Here they need to negotiate not only for air, but courtship and mating opportunities. There is constant tension between meeting seals. Typically, only one animal takes a breath at a time, while the others are queuing for their turn. The top seal keeps a constant watch for other seals needing to breathe. Occasionally, when a seal returns from a long dive and needs air, the occupying seal does not vacate quickly. First, the returning seal waits beneath the hole. But if forced to wait too long, it will bite the seal to make it leave. To communicate, Weddell seals use visual displays like opening jaws, pumping up the chest, or blowing bubbles. They are also highly vocal and produce a great variety of calls, such as chirps, growls, jaw claps, knocks, mews, trills, and whistles. Certain calls are only made by males, like growls and trills. Chirps are the most common and produced by both sexes. The chirp may function as a contact or localization call, and in some instances may warn another seal of its presence. Vocalization depends on social context. When females are present, the males often produce magnificent vocal displays. The reproductive season starts in September when female Weddells haul out on the ice in rookeries. Males arrive at breeding sites between mid-October and November, where they establish and defend territories until mid-December. Copulation occurs underwater between late November and mid-December. Pups are born the following October and weaned after 50 days. Weddell seals are polygynous. A dominant male attempts to mate with as many females as possible. Such mating systems are characterized by male-male competition and female choice. As we have seen, holes in the ice play a key role in the life of Weddell seals. The result is that large, mature males compete for holes. They use the underlying territories to attract females. Only the biggest, strongest, and fittest males can hold a territory. The environment is harsh, and the mating season short. Because the resources required to birth and feed a pup are considerable, females must choose carefully. During courtship, the interaction between males is the most aggressive, with ongoing biting, chasing, and wrestling. When two males of similar size fight, jaw claps, snapping, and chirps can be heard. Males suffer multiple wounds from these battles. But even during the height of competition, Weddells still exhibit a certain etiquette when it comes to breathing. Between two males, even in the middle of an extremely aggressive fight, the defender will let the intruder take time to breathe. Interestingly, when the intruding male leaves the hole again, the fight resumes with the same vigor. The males are less aggressive when interacting with females and readily take turns breathing. Females treat each other more friendly. They chirp a lot, and occasionally they clap their jaws and might bite. However, females are able to share a hole, something rarely seen with two males. We are getting first glimpses of the Weddell's world, yet through our eyes, not theirs. To understand an animal's self-world, or Umwelt, Jacob von Uexküll challenges us to imagine it through their senses, which can be radically different from ours. Let's attempt to picture the seal's self-world with a simplified model. From the outset, Weddells live in a home that's deadly to us. Freezing temperatures numb the brain above the ice, and below, water temperatures cause excruciating pain and death to us. Seals have large eyes that are extremely sensitive in low light, similar to nocturnal animals. At depths where we can't see at all, they can see the under ice surface and cracks for more than half a kilometer away. Where we can't identify a single shape, they can see another seal or schools of fish. Underwater, Weddell seals have more sensitive hearing than we humans. They can detect sounds 1.5 times farther away. Where we might hear the sounds of a few seals, they hear many more. Crucially, seals can locate the direction of sounds underwater with incredible precision. Humans can't at all. From sound alone, a seal knows how many seals are around, where they are, and whether they are male or female. Beyond their vision and hearing, seals have senses we find difficult to imagine. The seal's whiskers, or vibrissae, comprise a little understood sensory system. We believe it could be a very powerful guiding tool to detect water currents, even the movement of a passing fish. Where we can feel a breeze on our faces, seals can feel water currents created by fish. They might also tell how long ago the fish passed, its relative size, and the direction it's traveling. And they're likely to have senses we haven't even discovered, like a magnetic sense for navigation. One thing we know for certain, their self-world is very different from ours. Okay, now you can exhale and breathe again. If you were a Weddell seal on an exploratory dive, you would not have taken a single breath since this film began. There are more than 1 million species of animals, each one with a unique self-world. As technology advances, our understanding of these self-worlds will improve. Hopefully, this will lead to a greater appreciation of the worlds of non-human animals and our responsibility to protect them.
That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.